Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition. Good to be back, episode 90 of the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast. Thank you for joining us on the YouTube side, the audio side, Apple, Google, Spotify. And despite no spring training, we'll be talking today, our main topic, a proper spring training approach for professional baseball players. So everybody get your listening ears on, if there's such a thing. Let me bring in professional evaluator, successful business owner, my former coach, current friend, and co-host, the son of Mike Epstein, who was a topic in a listener email today, Jake Epstein.
All right, good to be here. Excited to talk about the future of spring training. I even got the good luck hat on.
Yeah.
Hope the negotiations go well today so everybody can get back to work.
Yeah. Today being Sunday, and I have to give you credit for your prediction a couple of weeks ago. You were pretty much spot on when you said you don't see how a deal would get done by the deadline. Now, I'm currently in the state where I don't see a deal getting done this week. This week being, what is this week? This is the second week of March. I don't see a deal getting done this week. And I know we've talked a lot on the show about the CBA and people are talking about it. And I think the fans have lost interest. The younger generation has lost a lot of interest in whether or not spring training is going on. I think it's really hurting baseball right now. But some of the gaps that were in both proposals were still pretty far apart. And they can decide all they want. And there's a lot of ways we can go with this. They can decide and agree on how many playoff teams are going to be in the new postseason in the CBA. They can decide on all the new rules, but they're still very wide and far apart on very important money issues.
Yeah. And then the playoff money is really all that. I shouldn't say all that, but that's a huge factor in what MLB is, or the ownership side is trying to get, because the ratings go through the roof, once the playoffs hit. Now, all of a sudden you get more markets besides just, 4, 5, 6 markets. Now all of a sudden you got 14 markets. Now that money is going to go big. So if they lose the first 50 games of the year, they're going to probably make that up during the giant playoff extravaganza that, is set to unfold, in the later part of the season. So, yeah, I don't think I don't know if anybody's going to be in a big rush. I know the players are in a big rush. They want to get going, but I think the owners, have the money to kind of just chill out for a while, knowing that if they can at least get the second half of the season done, then, they'll do that.
The thing that loses me, and I understand there's a lot of money involved, and I think I've said this before on the program about how I read the entire last CBA, every single page of it when it was finished in 2016. And I was on a date once with a girl, and I told her that, and that was the last date I ever had with her. But I did read that last CBA and understanding the financials of it and how important that is for both sides. But there's one thing that you lose me. There's one place where you lose me, and that is with the playoffs and the 14-team playoffs. I don't like it in any sport. I don't like how the NFL went to an extra playoff game. And playoff teams. I don't like how the NHL has such a great sport, hockey. They have so many playoff teams. I don't like that. I don't like how the NBA has so many playoff teams. And I didn't like the idea of expanding the March Madness, the men's and women's NCAA tournament in March and April, etc. I don't like how baseball wants to, at least on the Major League Baseball side, not the Players Association, how they want to extend the playoffs to 14 teams. I don't like it. I don't even like 12 teams. I'll live with 12 teams. I don't like how I have to live with 14 teams. The Phillies last year, they had a negative run differential. They would have made the postseason last year. That tells you all you need to know pretty much about a 14-team playoff proposal.
Yeah. It's just, why are you playing 162 games?
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. It's like, you want to play a 100-game season and then have more. I mean, the NBA season, the NHL season, they're a lot shorter regular. So we're playing 162 games. There has to be precedent to, rewarding teams that win their divisions. And that's just the way it's always been. And I get, things change and this society is, hey, let's just have a lot of playoffs. It's more fun and exciting and whatever, but you can't play 162 games and then have that many teams in the playoffs. Yeah, like you said, if you have teams with a negative, they got less wins than losses and they're making the playoffs, come on. Why are teams they're still going to get playoff share if they make the playoffs. So what is going to force them to put a contender on the field to be better than 500, right? If 500 gets you in the playoffs, why am I going to spend money? Why am I going to put my best foot forward to win every game, of 162 games? I'm going to bring up AAA guys to fill spots. Look, we got a 10 game, we're up by, X amount of games. I'm going to save arms for the playoffs. It just changes the whole dynamic of the sport, I think.
Yeah. And I don't like how a team starts a series up 1-0. It just doesn't. It's light. You're chuckling. It's laughable. I really do believe that, and that's one thing I do hope. I don't really care.
The ghost wins.
Right, the ghost wins. Thank you. I don't care much about the money. I will read about it and I will have a small opinion about it, but I understand what the financials are. It's a lot of money. I'm not going to get into that. I care more about the actual product on the field at this stage, because again, the money thing, that's they're very far apart on that, and it's also very blurry. But and we don't worry about that when we're watching a game on a daily basis. What we're worried about is the pace of play, or the excitement of the games, the meaningful games that are being played, especially on weekends and rivalry series.
Yeah,
that's more what I care about, and I think that for me, it hits home when they say, well, we want to have 14 playoff teams. By the way, Jock Peterson tweeted this 5 days ago, earlier in the week, about this very topic about extra playoff teams. And he said, official will play 162 games, 7 innings each, 32 teams make the playoffs, and everyone gets a participation trophy. So he's not for the 14-team playoff. By the way, people...
Because he's always in the playoffs.
Right. People tweeted, People Magazine, people tweeted this. So they tweeted this yesterday. I just found it when I searched Jock Peterson because I wanted to read that tweet to you. So apparently Braves players, Dansby Swanson and Jock Peterson, have gotten jobs at Papa John's during the Major League Baseball lockout. And there's actual pictures of them working at Papa John's.
That's interesting.
So I just clicked on it.
I mean, I feel like the working man should have the opportunity to have that job.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want it.
So yeah, so they took shifts at Papa John's in Marietta, Georgia last Friday. So a few days ago. They make pizzas and fold boxes. Right. And maybe it's a promotion. I think it is, because it says Hungry Cut as 2 of the chain's first preseason pizza pros. So maybe it is kind of a chain. But nevertheless,
maybe they own those franchises or something. A couple of the franchises.
Nevertheless, still.
But hey, man, they're working. It's kind of like the minor leaguers. They're working. Yeah, they got to work in the off season.
Right. And well, they're still playing too, by the way.
That's a whole other topic. Yeah,
they still will be playing. It's only the major league players that are.
It was cool to see like almost 30,000 people last night, fans at Minute Maid Park for the Texas LSU baseball game for the Shriners Classic. That was pretty cool.
By the way, I want to bring up something. I was at a college game yesterday, Saturday, locally downtown. And there's one thing that annoys me, and I tweeted about it yesterday. You may have saw it. There's a hitter, took a strike, right? He looked it in, watched it. The umpire, yeah. And the hitter shakes his head up and down, yes. Like, you know how hitters do that? Like,
yeah.
You see some major league guys do it too.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that shit. Amateur players out there. Just take it from me. Please don't shake your head up and down, yes. I hate when professional players do it. It's bush league. Stop doing it. What are you shaking your head for? It's like when people need to fill silence with small talk. What are we doing this for? It's pointless. Don't do it. I hate it. I hate that shit.
Don't shake your head.
Don't just
turn around. Tell the umpire that was.
Don't go like this. Yeah. I know. Well, if you know, then you should have been ready for that pitch, right? You should have been ready, and you should have gotten yourself in position to hit.
Yeah, that was maybe he was self-talking and saying, "Yeah, that was a good take on that borderline."
Well, you can do that without shaking your head, like, yeah. You look like a dope. Yeah, they do.
You feel better now, Jim?
I hate it. I wish players would listen. Amateur players listening to this would listen to me. Don't do it. It's a bad look. You look stupid.
Yeah.
If I'm a scout, I'm writing that down and saying I'm actually writing that down and marking that, because it's dumb. It's stupid. You should have, if you're going to be a pro.
There is a dumb box on those cards you can fill out.
If you want to be a pro, you don't do the dumb shit. You act professional. Even if you're still an amateur, you act and play professional. You don't shake your head up and down, yes, and you don't show bunt on 3-0 and then pull back. Oh, it's a strike. Stupid. It's fucking stupid.
What about pimping a home run? in high school.
I don't really care.
Walking all the way down the line and
Quite
flipping your
honestly, I
bat
don't
straight
care.
up.
There's a kid yesterday
That's what
who
the
had
pros do.
there was a kid yesterday who had a walk-up song. Well, that's coaching, though. By the way, that's coaching. That's up to the coaches if they want. Trent Dilfer. There's a video out there of him yelling at a player in his face. That's coaching.
Yeah.
If coaches want players to or allow players to, as you put it, pimp their home runs or whatever, then hey, so be it. If some coaches don't, I'm not a coach. You are. Would you? I mean, would you want that? I don't give a shit. As long as they're playing right. I had a coach once in American Legion. His name was Mick DeCastro. And we lost a game really bad. This was in high school. And after the game, he got on us, not about all the mistakes we made, but he would yell at us about how some of us, I didn't do this, but some of us had the cleats, the pants hooked to the bottom of the cleats. You know what I'm talking? Players don't really do that much anymore. It's different. But we had them hooked, and he'd say, you hook your pants, you want to look cool. How about you start playing baseball? He just this 60-plus-year-old man getting very, very upset because we were trying to.
You got the spike hole in there, huh?
Some people were trying to look cool by hooking their pants on their spikes, and we're all making all these mental and physical mistakes.
Yep.
So I don't care about pimping home runs. Where was I going? Oh, yeah. So a kid yesterday had a walkout song, right? A lot of confidence. He came out to a Frank Sinatra song. And this kid's like 20, 21.
Yeah.
And he came out to a Sinatra song. That's confidence right there.
Was he an Italian kid?
Sullivan. No. Sullivan is some kind of.
I had a teammate that was Italian. He came out to the Godfather theme song. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I never knew. Did you know how to pick? I never knew how to pick my walkout song. Did you know what criteria went into picking your walkout song? I had no idea. I should have just let people pick it for me. I would have come out to anything.
Yeah, I was more about the beat.
The beat.
Like I wanted to have like some kind of beat. If there was a song and I liked a certain part of that song, then I would use that. But there was a Beastie Boys song I came out to because I.
Oh, that's right. You love Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, the music only plays for like 30 seconds, though, so you can't really get.
No,
into
not
it.
even. Yeah, no. maybe 12. Yeah,
and there's not many songs you can get into that 30 seconds. There is one, like Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, for example. Jimmy Rollins used to walk out to that. Chase Utley would walk out to that song. What is it? That what's that rock song? I don't know. People Google it. Just Google it, people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fuck his songs.
Is it Crazy Train by?
No, it wasn't Crazy Train. No, it wasn't that.
All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. That was my favorite one.
I don't think
so. Because Ken Caminiti came out to it when I was a kid. I used to watch him.
All right.
AC/DC, always good.
Yeah, but that's very stereotypical though. I'd want something just like completely. I don't know.
Like the Bruno song.
What's the Bruno song?
The Bruno. Everybody, don't ask Bruno. Whatever that new Disney song is. You don't have kids. But.
I don't want to come out to fucking Disney. Fuck Disney.
But everyone that's listening to this knows what I'm talking about. What's the Bruno song? We don't talk about Bruno. That's what everyone listening right now knows what I'm talking about, except you.
Are you sure? I don't think they do, because we do have a chunk of listeners who are over 50. They probably don't know what.
They do know because they have kids.
Right.
Moving on.
What's that one Disney song from Frozen? What's that song?
Yeah, that's like this is like the new version of that.
Yeah, that song was big like 5 years ago.
Right, and you'll know about Bruno. It's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming to South Florida.
Are you sure? I don't live in South Florida, Chief.
Technically, where's the University of South Florida?
Oh, right in my town. Fuck, I'm like 10 minutes away.
I know, it confuses me.
It's right in my city.
I'm sorry. I think South Florida is like, maybe Jupiter to Miami. That's what I think of as South Florida.
West Palm.
I never think of Tampa as South Florida. Yet the university, USF, is in South Florida.
Yeah, it's a little weird. A little strange.
It is weird. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks.
A little strange. My sister went there. Bulls.
Yeah, the Bulls. I like the Bulls.
Yeah. I ask her about that a lot, actually. So why is it called the University of South Florida when it's in Central Florida and it's in Tampa Bay?
But Central Florida is, Orlando, right? Isn't that where UCF is?
Right. That's where UCF is, but Tampa's still considered central southwest
It
Florida.
seems like, or just call it West Florida
Well, because it's not really west, it's more central to west.
because of the
You got to go over a
Bigfoot.
bridge to get to the western part of the shoreline.
You got to get over to like, what is that, Pensacola?
No, that's northwest.
Yeah, that's the western part of the state, though.
Right. So I read something. Joey Votto was helping Matt Carpenter last offseason. So I'm going to ask you here. Players
That worked out well for everyone.
Players probably do this a lot. First off, what does Joey Votto do? We haven't talked much about him. Maybe we'll do a breakdown of him. What does he do well, though, at the plate? Because he is a really good hitter, and he does some things that are a little bit out of the ordinary, but then other things that are where he's very fundamentally sound, other parts of his swing that fundamentally click very, very well.
I think he's just a great hitter. I think he was a great hitter when he entered the league. I think he's not as good of a hitter now. I think he's gone too far in whatever he's trying to do. I think if he goes back to just hitting the ball, he'll probably be even better. I feel like his last 3 years have been subpar for him and his ability. I think his lower body works really well. I think he sees a lot of pitches really well. I think he really forces a barrel drop, and I don't know if he doesn't always do it, but that's what we're trying to accomplish. And we have too much analysis going on, and we just need to get to the fact where we hit. He's a guy that right now in his career gets really hot and then really cold, where he used to be very consistent. And when you see guys that get really hot, it's because they're big leaguers and they're elite athletes, and they see balls, they react faster, they process information faster. When they go into deep slumps and big peaks and valleys, those are usually guys that have swing plane issues.
Yeah.
And when I do see him, he starts to miss a lot of balls that are belt high. And then all of a sudden when he's hot, he starts smoking those pitches. And I would love to see what he does different. But if you watch his routine is very unorthodox, or unorthodox to what most major league players do.
Yeah.
He actually does kind of what, more of a turn the barrel, snap it kind of move. If you watch his on deck routine.
I think JJ, who emailed us today, mentioned something about that also in his email. So we'll get that.
Yeah, it's a weird routine. I have to go back, but I've noticed it the last 3 years, that his routine is very, very different compared to what other guys look like.
I made a mistake. I want to circle back to college really quick. I found this tweet from somebody earlier in the week, and it was a statistical tweet. Through the first 2 weeks of college baseball, fastball usage in college has dropped 5% from last year, 2021. Hitters are whiffing 4% more, chasing 5% more, striking out 1% more. And offensive run production has dropped 5%. Hitting is going to continue to get harder as less and less. That's his opinion. This last part, hitting is going to continue to get harder and harder as less and less fastballs are thrown. What do you make of those statistics, though? And what do you make of fastballs now being thrown less and less throughout college baseball? Is this a trend? Is this something that is circling back to what it was maybe 5 years ago? What do you make of this?
I saw a lot of breaking balls. When I was there, I couldn't believe the amount of breaking balls guys threw. So
sliders, curveballs, both.
Yeah, just a lot of unexpected breaking balls. When I would run reports on guys that I remember who he was a first rounder. Was it Hancock? I could go through. I mean, I have my full scouting reports here. Let's see if I can.
Oh, a scouting booklet. Oh, I like scouting booklets.
Oh yeah, I got all kinds of fun stuff in here. There you go. Yeah,
that's from college, right?
Look at that bad boy.
That's from college. Yeah,
that's from college. So that was the Vanderbilt one. So I mean, if you look at this was years ago. So Rocker was under 60% fastballs to right-handers and under 50% fastballs to left-handers that year. Through 92 to 94.
Right.
And he was throwing 50, if you look at that average, it was like 52 to 58% fastballs. That's all he was throwing.
Mm-hmm.
And he threw that hard. Like, that's a lot of breaking balls. So you see a lot of that at the college level. And you see a lot too, because guys throw, 88 to 92, or 88 to 90. There are guys that throw really hard, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, that, I don't know what your report says. Was that Power 5 schools? Was that D1 schools as a whole?
Right. It was a tweet. I think it was just, I found it online. I think it was just
college
baseball overall.
Yeah, college. So I mean, you have guys that throw. Most players throw in the 80s, right? So they're throwing a lot of breaking balls. They just are. And as a hitter, it's good to know, what are the majority of the pitches. You used to go to the plate and say, 2 out of 3 pitches I'm going to get, it's going to be a fastball. That's not the case anymore at the college level. So you have to work that. And you have to have the right approach and the right plan to do it. And I think people aren't maybe as concerned about walking. I know at the major league level, they're not, because they can strike out the next guy. So that fear of, if we walk this guy, with a base open, even though it's the second inning, big whoop. I'm not going to give into that hitter, because I know he can probably do some damage. So I'm going to throw him a breaking ball. If he gets himself out, great. If I walk him, no big deal. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a trend of breaking balls going up at that level. And whether or not that leads to more shoulder and elbow injuries, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Good. There's a lot of injuries out there.
Well, the game I attended on Saturday, the starting pitcher for one of the teams, his bread and butter was his changeup. And when he wasn't throwing his changeup well and had to rely on his fastball, he was actually really getting hit around, and he was walking guys. He was all over the place, but he got a lot of swings and misses with his changeup.
Yeah. You have to have a secondary pitch for sure. I mean, unless you're 97 and up, college hitters are prepared now. I mean, just like we prepare players at the lab with velocity, they're doing that on a daily basis, from a short distance, from regular distance. They're cranking those machines up and seeing speed. And it's not as, when I was playing and you saw somebody throwing 94, 95, I remember like maybe the hardest thrower we saw in college, Pryor, when I was at Fullerton, Pryor was probably the hardest thrower at 94, 95. Yeah, wow. And then Kip Wells threw pretty hard. He was a big leaguer too. He had good stuff. For Baylor, I think he played for Baylor, and he was that guy. But it was like, whoa, this guy's really bringing it.
Yeah.
And now you go to a Power 5 game, and everybody's throwing like 94. So guys are training at 94. It's not as big of a deal. So you have to rely on breaking pitches to keep guys off balance. You still may get them out with fastballs, but you're going to have to throw other pitches in there just to change their vision.
Yeah. Well, let's get to our listener question before we get to our main topic. I'm talking today about a proper spring training approach for professional players. If there was a spring training for major league guys, there is for minor league guys. This is from JJ, sent to us via jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. He writes, Jim and Jake listened to last week's podcast and heard Jake say that his father didn't receive enough credit for his contribution to the advancement of hitting instruction. I consider it to be a great injustice. Mike Epstein blazed trails and enlightened everyone in the business. I read Swing Kings, and Mike and Jake are only mentioned on 3 pages, whereas Teacher Man got a couple of chapters. What's up with that? Makes one wonder. There was going to be more to this, but this is rather long already. It concerns you, Jim, and terminology. Stay tuned. So JJ, that's from JJ, sent to us via jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. He's creating a thread, a storyline for us throughout the show. We don't know how to do that, but JJ, our listener, apparently does.
He's creating a great storyline.
Yeah, he's creating storylines. Something we should be doing. We don't, and JJ's doing it for us.
I remember my dad speaking at the ABCA convention like in 2001 or something like that. And people looking at him and their faces just going, like, you want us to do what? You want us to like swing up a little bit? You want us to create torque? What is this torque you're talking about? And he's like, people were they had no idea. And when they did like a breakout session, he said the entire auditorium went into the small room where the breakout session was, because it was like he was from another planet at that time.
Yeah.
And that's how it started, it really did. And then people made it too complex. they tried to take the right movements that everybody's done, and they've tried to create $35 words to make it complicated and whatever, when really there's my old man said it best, there's three core movements that Williams said and that we found a way to teach, and that was stay inside the ball, be on plane with the pitch, and create separation. Like, those are the three things. If you can do those three things, now there's a lot of parts that go into each one of those, but if you can do those three things, those are the commonalities of, whatever he said, 96% of Major League Baseball players. And the same is true now. So I just think everything's been so overcomplicated. And that's what people want to hear, this is fascinating. Here's a new way to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then people repackage it, but, it is what it is. I just wish, he wrote the first damn book on it,
Yeah.
Williams wrote a book. My dad got a letter of recommendation from Ted Williams that said, this guy can teach. He's the first person I've ever come in contact that can actually teach what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
And just because there wasn't Twitter back then, it kind of got brushed under the rug.
The author of Swing Kings, Jared Diamond, he's on Twitter at Jared Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Now his DMs are open.
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage people to go to his Twitter and direct message him and talk about this show, this podcast, and how Jake and Mike, and how you're upset with Jake and Mike only getting 3 pages in the book. Do it politely, of course. I don't want you to go all crazy on him. No reason for that. It's just hitting. It's just a sport. But if you'd like, people would like to reach out to him, or you can email. And again, this is all on his Twitter bio here. So I'm not saying anything that's illegal. I'm not doing anything. I'm not disclosing anything that could get me sued. It's email jared.diamond@wsj.com, and Wall Street Journal, of course. So again, jared.diamond@wsj.com. Or you can direct message him and do it politely and say, hey, Jim and Jake do a podcast about hitting every week. And Mike and Jake were the guys who only got 3 pages in your book, but they had a big contribution to hitting.
Well,
Mr. Author of Swing Kings, Jared Diamond.
If I'm going to say one thing, you just didn't do your research. Like,
Right.
we get every week, I get people reaching out, hey, can I get your dad's info?
Mm-hmm.
We're writing a book on this, or
Yeah.
we're doing articles on this, and absolutely. And, that was somebody that obviously, wrote a book and didn't really research maybe the entire community.
Yeah. Take that, Jared.
Whatever.
Jared Diamond.
I do like Neil Diamond.
I do. Yeah.
I
don't. He's a little weird.
No,
I
saw
strange.
Neil Diamond in concert. He was like 80.
His Sweet Caroline
It was
song's a little
awesome.
weird to me. A little strange.
Oh no, yeah, it's not Sweet Caroline. His other stuff's great. Come on, man, it's Neil.
I don't
Like
give a fuck if
Sinatra,
it's
but
Jesus.
not
He's
as
not
good.
that good. I don't care. I don't care.
All right.
You want to get into our main topic? We've got all of our
Yeah,
other
that's
stuff out of the way.
probably a good idea.
Sweet cat, right? Bum,
Yeah,
bum.
you're right.
I'm starting to get annoyed too with that. Now everybody does the bum, bum, bum. It's really starting. Not just Red Sox fans, but everybody.
Very
It's starting-
opinionated today, Jim.
It's starting to get on my nerves. Well, we didn't do a show last week. I wouldn't be as opinionated. What are you shaking your head for?
Because you like it so much.
If I wouldn't be as opinionated if we did a show last week, but we couldn't. So,
Yeah, true.
but maybe next week I won't be as opinionated. I
No,
think
you'll be
people-
all smoothed out by then.
No, I'll be fine. I'll be boring. Back to my boring old self.
Boo. What game did you go to? University of Tampa or South Florida in South Florida?
I went to University of Tampa. That's
Okay.
literally like 5 minutes driving.
You gotta
from my house.
you gotta tell Urso I said what's up.
Well, I don't know how to get in touch with him. Maybe he listens to the podcast. I don't know.
Just go out on the field. You got a badge. Show him your Blue Jay badge.
That's not going to do me any good.
Sure it is.
I don't want to go on the field. I don't want to go on the field.
All right.
I could give a shit.
Okay.
I'll you know what? I'll do it from the side when I'm because you can stand next to the dugout. I'll go, yo, Joe, what's up, dude?
Yeah. I
Okay.
love playing for that guy. He was so fun to play for.
You played for him.
Yeah.
When?
He was my manager at my first year of pro ball
No kidding.
in Montana. Yeah.
Wow. Well, his son.
Yeah.
I'm about to burn a bridge. I feel like his son was the one who shook his head up and down yesterday.
Oh,
JD Urso, good player. Probably going to be drafted in a few years. I would draft him.
good.
He's only a freshman. I'd draft him in a couple of years. He's a good player, but he was shaking his head up and down. Yes. I was like,
how is his we're totally off topic here, but
that's okay.
how big is he? Because Joe's a little guy.
He's not very big, the kid. He's
Yeah. Is he as
about
big as
my
Joe?
height. No, he's taller than
Okay.
Joe. He's taller than Joe,
Okay.
but he's got room to grow.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
I can
Yeah.
project. I can
Joe can
project
hit,
him.
man.
Yeah, well, his kid can hit. I can project him
Yeah.
probably gaining, I don't know, 10 to 15 pounds more muscle. To be
Okay.
fair, looking at his dad and
Yeah.
genetics and whatnot. Yeah, I could see him
Yeah.
getting drafted, but he was the one who shook his head up and down. Yes, so he embarrassed his family, his father, and his entire team.
You're one Kurt. All right.
Somebody's going to listen to this from the University of Tampa, the Spartans, and they're
Yeah.
going to, the Spartans, and they're going to ban me from going to their games now. I University of South Florida is like 20 minutes from where
so
I
far.
currently live.
Yeah.
That's a little far. They're in Temple
Yeah.
Terrace, Florida. For all of our Florida listeners, they know where that is.
Sounds nice.
It's okay, but it's in Temple Terrace, Florida, and University of Tampa is about 5 minutes from where I am, and I can take one of those scooter rideshare things and literally just ride a scooter right up to the game.
That's
a lot
sweet.
better, lot better. So what did we learn on today's show? First thing,
I don't think we've learned anything.
Do not shake your head up and down. Yes. Don't do it.
That's it. That's the one. Those players that came are killing it so far, knock on wood.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing so well.
Yeah.
The girls, Cat Shomo's
and this is at the
well.
lab.
Finch is doing well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Cassidy's doing well. She's on like every highlight reel.
I know.
All right. Let's get into today's topic.
Marcus is doing well. Continue.
Today's topic.
Today's topic.
Yes, we'll get to the lab and we'll get to
No.
We'll get to that. And so, we got to promote it a little bit.
Yeah, we just did. It's awesome. If you go there, you're going to do great. There's your promo. That's all we need.
Okay, we'll do one more promo at the end, though. I just want to make sure
the script.
Yes. Proper spring training approach. Give me top three things a hitter needs in a proper spring training approach to get ready for the season, because we know how much they work out in the off season to get ready just for spring training. It's not like when your dad played. No disrespect to him, but he is on the older side. Not even like when you played, and of course beyond that.
Yeah. So full approach. We'll call this a full approach, not necessarily like an at-bat approach, but full approach, which recommended. You want to see as many pitches as possible. You want to see as many live arm balls coming at you as possible. Sometimes that happens in games. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it doesn't happen in games. Standing in with bullpens, really, really important. Getting on a backfield when a guy's doing a rehab assignment, standing in the box, taking swings or not taking swings, but standing in a box 60 feet, 6 inches away, watching a ball come out of a hand full speed, watching the break of that, not necessarily even taking swings, is very crucial. That's probably number one for me and players, is seeing as many pitches as possible. Number two, using machines to see maybe velocity, cranking that thing up to 100 miles an hour, trying to be quick with your hands to get there, or hitting off that machine, throwing 90 miles an hour, but scooting up 10 feet. So you're totally overmatched, and you're just trying to be quick with your hands to maybe, foul a ball off or catch a barrel, something like that, something where you're overtraining speed, maybe breaking balls. You're seeing as many breaking balls as you possibly can, trying to figure out, if a guy's throwing a bullpen or maybe he's just working out a breaking ball, with a TrackMan device. He's trying to adjust his spin with the pitching coach, standing in there and just, even if he hits you, right, it's not going to hurt. He's throwing breaking balls. No, it'll still hurt. But, seeing the ball come out of the hand, watching those different spin rates, hanging out with pitchers, really, when you're not. And again, this is an offensive mindset approach. It has nothing to do with defense. I'm not talking about getting fly balls and high sky and all that kind of stuff. This is just, from a hitting standpoint, I've taken a lot of swings in the off season. Maybe I'm just double checking my mechanics, make sure I'm in a good spot. Maybe I've adjusted my timing in the off season. Maybe my rhythm is a little bit different. Maybe I need to keep track of that rhythm. Well, how do I work on that? By seeing as many pitches come out of a hand, timing a pitcher, moving when that pitcher moves. Okay, I was a little bit too early there. Maybe I can wait a little longer before I move here and get my foot down. So timing is the most crucial part of spring training. That's why we're there. We're making sure that, we're in shape. We've been working out all off season.
Yeah.
The legs are in shape. Obviously we want to stay in shape. We want to stay flexible. So we have our, routines there on the strength and, conditioning side. But, for the most part as a hitter, I want to work on timing. I want to make sure my checkpoints are good, meaning when the ball is, X amount of distance to the plate, where are my hands? Where's my front foot? When does my toe hit the ground? When does my front foot lift off the ground? How long is it taking my rhythm to go from start to launch? Where is the pitcher in his windup when I'm starting to move? So having a coach that is kind of helping me through that process, that's videoing essentially, and then looking through that video and making sure I'm consistent with my rhythm and my load, totally crucial to being ready to go when the season starts, whenever that is.
All right. Well, what about your first couple of plate appearances in spring training games?
Mm-hmm.
What's the approach there besides getting your timing down? Because now you're actually competing. It's live competition.
Yeah. So now we're getting into games. I'm probably going to get to at bats.
Mm-hmm.
It depends who I am.
Yeah.
So if I've been in the big leagues, I'm on the, the roster, like
mm-hmm.
I'm going to play this year,
mm-hmm.
then I'm seeing as many pitches as possible. I don't give a rat's, about, what my stats are in spring training. I'm probably taking more pitches my first 10 at bats,
mm-hmm.
just to see and get a feel for the live action again before I start really unloading. If I'm a guy that's trying to earn a spot, I don't have time to do that. My first at bat, I got to be ready to jump on a pitch and ready to go right away. And I'm probably going to be a little bit more aggressive than, say, an MLB veteran or a guy that's been in the big leagues for a couple of years, because I have to prove myself.
Right.
So I'm trying to find barrels early. I'm trying to hit balls early. And you know what? You get a lot more fastballs early in spring training. So the first couple of weeks of spring training, you're going to see more fastballs and you're going to get more pitches to hit. So if I'm a young guy that's, at AA or AAA and I want to prove myself, I'm probably coming up my first couple of bats and I'm swinging. I'm trying to do damage early.
And what about if you're struggling though? What if you begin struggling and you're in a minor slump? I don't care if you're in this instance. I don't really care if you're a guy coming up trying to win a spot or if you're a veteran, because struggling is struggling.
Yeah.
What are you looking at? Because what you look for when you're struggling, I think, is different in spring training, or it could be, rather than
totally
when
different.
you're actually in season. So what exactly are you looking at? What are you pinpointing on to try and figure out how to break out of this slump that you're in, a minor slump, albeit in games that don't matter in spring training?
And you're not getting usually you're not getting more than 2 at bats the first couple of weeks of spring training. So it's you can call it a slump, but it's probably, you're 1 for 14, the first week or so. If I'm a big league player, a guy that, is trying to see a lot of pitches in that scenario, then I'm like, well, I'm behind in the count a lot. Why am I not having quote, statistical success right now, my first 15 at bats in spring training? Well, I've been 0-1 the past 6 at bats. I've been behind in the count, 10 of those 15 at bats. Okay, so that's probably what it is. I'm gonna start swinging the bat a little earlier in the count, on pitches that are more hittable. Now I'm gonna start to hunt. Now I know what pitch I want to hit. I feel good. My rhythm feels good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and go on the offensive. Okay. If I'm somebody that's been aggressive, trying to earn a spot, what's going on? Am I pulling off pitches? Am I swinging and missing at pitches? Am I jumpy on breaking pitches? What is the course of the problem? How am I getting out? Am I taking good pitches and swinging at bad pitches? So I would go through probably the same. Anytime I'm struggling, I would go through that same checklist of, is it mechanical? Is my barrel doing something different? But most of the time it's pitch selection, it's plan. Is my plan bad? how has my pitch selection been, sticking to that plan. And then 3 would be rhythm and timing. Am I starting too late or
Right.
too early? And then 4 would be some kind of mechanical thing. That's probably how I would rank those.
And when you're
if I
looking
were
at
struggling.
when you're looking at video in spring training of your swing and of your previous at bats, is that different from when you're looking at video in season?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's up to the person. I think
Mhm.
everybody's different. I know how I look at video,
Yeah.
which is different than coach A, coach B, and coach C. You know, we all have kind of different things that everyone. That's why people have to work together. Like you have to have a coaching staff that's cohesive. But I might look at something totally different than another hitting coach, and I might be like, "Ooh, I like what he's okay. Yeah, I never really thought about where the whatever whatever they're talking about." So I know what has been very, very successful for me in helping players through troubling times, and that's where I'm going to, because I've had success with that. And I think as a player, each player is different. I mean, I'll be honest, players typically don't know until you tell them. They're young. I mean, I didn't know any of this when I was 20 years old. So I'm not going to expect a 20-year-old player. So I'm going to communicate to that player and say, what are we doing here? What are you feeling here? This is what I would suggest. You're not lifting your front foot until the pitcher is right here. Let's see if we can work on that, today and see if we can get a little better. So yeah, I just would go through my checklist of what's worked for me as a coach, not as necessarily as a player, but as a coach in helping players.
To me, the thing I gather from spring training, being around it so much in the past, players have in their minds, especially if you're a veteran, in your mind mentally, where they need to be at certain checkpoints to help dictate a good start to the year, and if they're going to have a good season, because everybody really wants to get off to a good start. Nobody wants to have to dig out of that hole. So they have certain checkpoints that they want to hit. Is that a farce? Is that something, though, that is actually true? Or is it just something that's completely farce, where some players have a certain routine and they have a certain checklist of dates of where they need to be at those dates, offensively, fundamentally, and of course, mentally as well?
Yeah, sure. No, they do. And these are guys that are veterans that have been through, probably 8 spring training. They know how to prepare themselves. They know what time to wake up. They know exactly what to eat, and they know when to eat. They know how many pitches they need to see. They know, I want to see more breaking pitches, or I need to see more fastballs, or whatever it might be. But they have, and everybody's different. People are different. That's why you have people that are CEOs, and you have people that work for the CEOs. That's the same as baseball players. Some guys are, I mean, Joey Votto is probably a CEO. I mean, he's got a brain that thinks on another level, and he probably thinks many levels ahead, or many minutes ahead, or many seconds ahead than everyone else. So he's going to have a very regimented routine, I'm sure, in spring training, versus a guy that is 21 years old, and this is his first or second big league camp. But that's what you hope. A guy like Votto, and we're just using him because we've been talking about him, but he's a great dude. Like, I'm sure he'll help that young player out. Hey, you should really think about doing this. Don't wear yourself out doing this, or you should see more breaking balls. Maybe spend some extra time off the hack attack machine that's got a high spin rate breaking ball, working away from you, and tracking those. So experience is the name of the game. And if you can lean on people with experience, and you can lean on people that, a good coaching staff that can help you through that process, then you're going to have more success during the season, because you prepare well during spring training.
Before we wrap it up really quick, I'm sure people want to know this. How do teams and players decide what days they're going to play and what days that they're not going to play? How does the coaching staff, some front office personnel, go through that schedule and make up a schedule, or lack of a better term, for those guys on which days they're going to play and which days they're not going to play?
Yeah, the pitching side is the pitching side, right? I mean, that's a whole other level of guys that need innings and how many innings. Some people are, coming off rehab and whatnot. Offensively, it gets really, or position player wise, it gets really complex because you have split squads, and who's going to go play on, just split squad and come back. So it's really just a matrix of getting guys at bats. Some guys we want to, maybe give them more at bats early in spring training to see more pitches. We want to see them because there's constantly, you can call them cuts, but guys show up to big league camp and they want them there to work out. They want them there to be involved and get a feel for it. And then, 2 weeks into spring training, then they ship them off to minor league camp. So a lot of times you'll see those guys get, a few more chances early in spring training, just to kind of see what's going on. It's a little easier. Pitchers are throwing, pitchers are only throwing, 2 innings and they're not throwing, less breaking balls. They're just trying to kind of get the feel of the mound again, in game situation. So I think every organization has a different strategy for that. And it depends on, do they have an older team, a veteran team, or do they have a young team? They need to see more at bats from certain players. So it's definitely conducive to, the split squads are huge because it gives more people an opportunity to play. But you have a ranking system of, okay, these guys need more at bats and these guys are going to be your late game additions is essentially what it is. And usually they're going to get their starters in the first 3 or 4 innings and then they're done. You can go do your side work, go get your lift in, go rest, go eat, boom, we'll see you tomorrow. Where the younger guys are kind of there all day. They're practicing in the mornings, they're doing all their drills, then they're kind of waiting until the 5th or 6th inning. Then they go into the game. Those guys usually finish out the games. And then you have, your workouts that you have to complete as well before the day ends. So usually the more veteran guys get to hit the showers or hit the weight room a little bit earlier, on game days.
And by younger guys, you mean the minor league call-ups, of course.
Yeah, typically your minor league call-ups.
All right.
76 through 99.
Do you have anything else for today's topic, proper spring training approach? If anybody has any questions, please be sure to email us, jimbopodcast21@gmail.com, or reach out on Twitter and Instagram @JimTara and @Epstein Hitting.
Yeah, the only thing is you can take this spring training episode and it's your winter training for your college. It's your playing. We've had time off. Figure out what's best for you at a young age. Do you need to see more pitches or do you need to be more aggressive? Do you need to work on timing more or do you need to work on mechanics? At the major league level, the mechanics are pretty darn good. They're not going to be able to succeed that long in life with poor mechanics. So as a younger player, you're probably stressing more mechanics if you're in that, 10 to 14 age. But as you get older, you can take a lot of the topics we discussed, for major league players and bring it to your amateur, youth, high school and college years.
So next week we are discussing 2021 hitting trends. It should be an interesting topic. A lot of hitting trends out there, some a bit true, some a bit farce. We'll discuss it all next week. 2022 hitting trends. We'll return to our mechanical breakdown series in a few weeks as well. What's coming up at the lab? Need a quick lab promo. Got to go by script.
Got to go. Oh, is this where the script comes in? The lab. So I went down to the lab. I was there a couple days ago. So I just got home and we added some new tracking stations because you know how into vision and tracking I am, so that our players are not only getting live reps, but we're getting visual reps as well. So we reformatted all the cages a little bit. So now when a player is hitting in the cage, the on deck player is also getting, timing and rhythm reps. So we made some adjustments there. We're gearing up for the season. Our high school players are in season now. So we're seeing more velocity, more breaking balls, trying to get those reps in. And then the younger guys are starting their weekend tournament. So we're prepping them. I will say that our players have started off very, very well. And I love to see, that's a good part about social media. I will tell you this is there's, we have teams that come in to the lab, right? There's, not every class we have, 15 classes a week. But a couple of those classes in the 15 are teams. Like an entire team comes in and we work with them as a team, like it was a college program. And so for me to come back to Denver and all of a sudden I see this team that we worked with 3 days ago and prepped them for the tournament, they just scored 13 runs their first game. They won like 13-2 and 14-1 the second game. And these aren't like huge men. These are 12-year-old players, you know, that haven't gone through puberty yet. So they're doing it right. We're prepping them right. So I love that aspect of social media. So the lab, we're just pumping along. I'll be back there in about 8 days or so for spring break. So look forward to seeing everybody down there again.
Very good. Be sure to check out our YouTube page, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast, videos, mechanical breakdowns, full episodes. It's all there. Thank you for listening. And next week, 2002 Hitting Trends. We will talk to you then. Have a great week, everybody.